Hello and welcome to the Job Journey podcast. As a surprise to you, today's podcast will be in English. If you want to support us to invite more interesting guests, such as our guest today, please subscribe. Hit somewhere here. You see the subscribe button. Don't hit it. Subscribe on YouTube and follow us and support us to create more interesting content for you. Special thanks to Kaufland Bulgaria today for supporting this podcast. Our Bulgarian viewers can check out Kaufland's unlimited opportunities to start your career or grow it with Kaufland at www.karriera.kaufland.bg. Also, special thanks to our partners from Greek bakery Kostis, made with love for you. You can check out their website for Christmas treats and more at kostis.com. And of course, today our guest is Haralambiev. And we're going to be talking about soft skills in IT and tech. Well, Harry, you do a lot of things. I think it will be my honor if you can present the things you do. You're also a podcaster, so let's start with that.
Okay, yeah. Well, about the podcast, we do the soft skills podcasts for tech people called Radio Tochka, which is something that non-Bulgarians will not understand the play of words for the Radio Tochka. But yeah, we've done. I believe it's like a free masterclass for soft skills for tech people. So if anyone wants to learn soft skills, it's a great place, a great resource. What we do and what I do, I usually present myself as the next tech person, ex-software engineer, ex-engineering manager. But for the past 8 years, I've been focusing on helping tech people master their soft skills, communication skills, and also create strong tech teams. This is my primary focus. So people who work together to create amazing environment, deliver great results, and basically navigate all the changes that happen all around us every day. So basically we do a lot of training and a lot of coaching.
Okay. What else can you tell us about yourself apart from the podcast?
Non-professional or
You can start with that, yeah.
Non-professional. Okay. Let me think. That's an interesting question. I'm a father of 2 kids, one biological, one non, 9 and 7 year old. I'm originally from Burgas, Bulgaria, okay. From the Black Sea. But for the past 20 years, I've been in Sofia, so I guess I'm no longer a Burgaslia.
I don't often hear that. It's typically people from Burgas live there or don't go to Sofia. But
yeah, Burgas is better place to live. I don't know if you have any questions, I'd love to.
Yeah, we'll go through it throughout the rest of the episode. I think just for our viewers, at the end of the episode, we'll be talking about a gift that one of you can receive. We'll share more in our YouTube channel and our social media channels, and we will let you know how you can win one interesting initiative with our guest today. But we'll tell you more about at the end of the episode. Let's start with our first question about. I think the stigma is that most IT technical people prioritize hard skills over soft skills until a certain moment in time. So what can you tell us more about?
Yeah, and there is also some existing thinking that tech people don't have soft skills, and they're let's say some nerds that are difficult to communicate with, and actually. When we started our business, I remember initially we didn't focus on tech companies and tech people. We decided that we'll do training for soft skills training for all kinds of businesses. But at some point, I remember there was another coach that mentioned she was doing training with all kinds of people, and she did say that tech people, they're such a weird bunch of people. And for me that's not the case, because I've worked with and I'm such a person. And then me and my co-founder said to ourselves that we are missing a huge basically we disregarded our past experience in the tech industry and didn't focus on tech people. And once we said that, okay, we are going to do soft skills for tech people, that's where the business lifted. So I don't think that people focus on hard skills, but it's easier basically because a lot of tech people, they started playing with the engineering stuff and playing with computers and playing with programming and so on. And that's what they have as internal motivation to just play with. And the communication part or the soft skills part is, it's not something that is their primary desire, but it's a necessity because nowadays it's very rare to work alone. It's always with other people and it's always with teams, and it's a necessity to actually master these skills so that you can either, as you're in the context of career development, in terms of career development, it's absolutely essential, but in terms of doing even your own work, it's a need that you have to work with other people.
Yeah, I think
I just started remembering back when I started for the first couple of years. I was working all the time with developers because they need to develop the pages, and I was kind of in the middle between business and the developers. So my title was business analyst, or it was never layout. I was kind of wearing so many hats at this point because the department was just picking up from the ground. And I can vividly remember the guy that was building the pages wanted to speak only to me because I was the one that gets him. So he was obviously struggling with talking with different teams, like cross-functional, like communication was the bane of his existence, to be honest. Like he was feeling uncomfortable. He didn't want to explain to other teams. He was just like, no, I'm going to talk to Svilen. Okay. And then Svilen will kind of...
You'll be the bridge.
I'll be the bridge. He kind of unilaterally decided that I'm going to be the guy. I've seen that more than once throughout my last, I'll say 8-9 years within the corporate industry. The best IT people or the best developers or the best like tech people that I've seen that are really good in creating stories were unfortunately outside of Bulgaria. I was working in Germany for like almost 2 years. So there I met people that were like on next level when it comes to telling stories. And like explaining why this is needed in terms of business perspective. And those were like senior engineering managers, vice presidents, directors, so on and so forth. So I saw how much that could elevate your like your personal brand within a company when you can do that specifically, like explain in a really simple manner to people that are not technical why you need to split the monolith or something like that. I don't remember what they were, but they were explaining something extremely like technical in very day-to-day words to the business folks. Like I was one of those business folks. So what's your advice for like tech people? Is there a framework that they can apply or some steps that they can take in order to kind of be more comfortable speaking with like cross-functional departments, teams?
I'm laughing on is there a framework? Because people, especially in this region of the world, are looking for some silver bullets or for some pills. That's why, by the way, we called our brand online platform Soft Skills Pills, because everyone expects some pill that you can take and everything magically happens. So going back, that there are some principles, of course, that people can master, but it's not something that goes overnight and you can swallow a pill and everything will work. But what you mentioned is important. There are a lot of people who struggle to advance their career because of their soft skills or lack of. And once you learn how to communicate in a way, not in the not using tech words, tech jargon, but actually trying to communicate in a way people can understand you, that's where magic happens. And it's not only so cross-functional is one issue, people who are focused on different functions, but I've seen that also cross-cultural is another issue, because people from Bulgaria have trouble understanding people from the US and have issues. I remember it was a very interesting experience where we worked with a startup where you had a German guy who was a tech guy with an Indian guy who was actually living for the past 20 years in the US, with Austrian, with a French woman, and it was amazing mix. It is tough to work in an environment where you're so different, but maybe the one framework or one principle I think people should follow or apply is trying to understand the other person's perspective. So it doesn't matter if it's at work or if you disagree with someone at home. When you try to understand the other person, what they mean, what they want to say to you, that's when, as you mentioned, this tech guy, he felt that you get him because you actually are trying to understand him. It doesn't matter if he's a tech guy or not. So maybe that's the framework or the main principle. Try to understand others.
Okay, that's interesting. When I was reading about you, about the company, about everything you did, I've seen maybe on the website that you've worked with more than 300 like tech teams for the past number of years.
Yes.
And there was a model that you created. I'm not sure if it's you or a collective of the company. There was a model that you've created. And can you walk us through this model and what are kind of the main elements, three elements that a tech team is like? How would you classify a good tech team?
Yeah. So everyone interested in the details, the model is called tree model, tree like tree in the forest. You can go at softskillspills.com and look for the tree team model. And so even before we started our own company, we worked with tech teams internally in the software development company. We were with my co-founder, and we use different models. There are different models for what's a great team. And there is no one perfect model. They give you different perspective on how teams work. So we worked a few years with different models. And at some point we saw that in context of the tech industry, there are some elements that need to be emphasized more than others. So going back to your question, the three main elements, if you think of a tree, and picture a tree, the roots or the invisible part that's beneath the ground, this is something that is often overlooked. The tree, by the way, is an abbreviation from three words. So answering your question, trust, results, and evolution are the three words. Trust is what's beneath the ground, the roots. This is the human aspect of a team. So how people create what team climate does the team create? What bonds between people do they create? The trust level in the team, how do they handle disagreements and so on? So this is the human aspect of a team. The second part is the so-called results. This is the way people organize themselves. So how effectively they align with each other and organize their ways of working, and whether they deliver work. And interestingly, there are a lot of teams that have great team climate, and I joke that if they have results, great. If they don't have results, great, because they have a nice environment, so they're friends and so on. But teams are measured by results, so this is an important aspect. But if the human aspect is neglected, results are also poor. And the third part, the evolution part, is related to that's specific a lot to the tech world, but I think there are a lot of industries that the speed, the tempo is quite high. So evolution is how does the team navigate changes, uncertainty, things that are outside of their control. So basically the trust and the results are the team internally, but the evolution part is a strong team basically knows how to deliver results even in bad weather, basically. So if you imagine a storm, because currently it's windy outside, you see that the trees are both adaptive and resilient. So they are not straight like that. They bend. So they are agile in terms of the weather, but they are also rooted. They don't go away. So that's an interesting balance.
It's an example how you can bring the Agile framework into such a comparison to the wind and the trees.
All the Agile is a word that a lot of tech people don't like. Yeah.
Great. And my last question for now, and I'll pass it on to Albert, is, so you work with so many teams, and I'm sure you are able to notice some, like, what are some early warnings of teams that are not functional at their best? I'm sure you've seen something throughout all of those years.
Oh, I think a lot of people can easily spot those symptoms, because one of the symptoms is tension within the team. So what we typically, when we start working with a team, we start with one, let's call it a game, although it's a simulation where people have to work together to achieve a goal. And in this context, it's obvious how they communicate, whether they're having fun, whether they hear each other, whether when they have disagreements, it will be a but unhealthy disagreement. And I've seen that two main indicators is the level of noise. So if you have a team that is silent more of the time, it means that either they're still in the beginning of their working together, so a newly formed team, for example, or they have worked for so long and have bad emotions that they prefer not to disagree with each other. And the second aspect is really regarding joy and fun, maybe. If you have, and I assume that you together, when you do the podcast even, if you don't have joy and fun together, and if you cannot collaborate effectively, it will be obvious you feel like work. So if it feels like only work, that's one symptom. The other is another obvious symptom is in terms of results. Bad teams tend to be slow. Great teams tend to be fast. And one thing that people don't really recognize is that great teams have more disagreements than average or poor teams. They have a lot of disagreements, but it's a healthy one. So when people clash, they're quick to resolve those disagreements and to be united towards a common goal.
I agree. Definitely agree with the last one about disagreements.
Yeah.
I've seen that more than once in my career.
What you're telling is just being brought to life. I work with new teams every several months. I work as a project manager, and as you can understand, I work with global teams. Apart from global teams working on different things, being contractors for different companies and managing different interests. So probably 5 or 6 layers of complexities that I work with. And every team that I've worked with over the past 6-7 years, every team has been different.
Yeah.
What I often try to do is catch the team dynamics.
Yeah.
And oftentimes it's really difficult, or you need to build the teams that I start working with. We need to build the team dynamics. So it's not somewhere I join and there's team dynamics already. I need to be part of building it. What I learn about myself is I have to be the vocal one in those situations, because sometimes I've worked with teams that have a really good team dynamic, but it's not result oriented.
Yeah.
So it's about, as you said, it's about having fun. It's about not being stressed about work. It's about being smiley and nice.
The so-called comfort zone.
The comfort zone, yes. Yeah. And when push comes to shove, it does. Yeah. If you work in tech, there are deadlines. Yeah. And sometimes push comes to shove. And then people stress and people get panicked. And if there's not a culture where you can challenge and say, right, guys, we need to do this. Yeah. We need to be stressed about it in a healthy way. Exactly the teams that I've seen fail are the ones that are not used to being in that uncomfortable zone.
Yeah.
When they have to. I'm just thinking out loud, but what's the way, if you're a manager, let's say, what's the way of scanning that? And sort of accelerating team dynamics for a good outcome.
Yeah. Well, first. Yeah, just to mention when you mentioned about the comfort zone and the result and the pressure, managers often think that it's either a good environment, a good team climate, or results. And there is some work by Amy Edmondson, which is she's a professor, a great researcher, a lot of books by her, very interesting to read them. But it's not either or. It's basically, you can imagine them on 2 axes. That it's one is great team climate, the other is results. And yeah, you can be there are two different areas that you can be in. One where there is a lot of performance pressure, but there is no good environment.
Yeah.
This is bad. This is the so-called anxiety zone, and it's bad because if you're a lot of times you can deliver short-term results, but then if you have to work with the same people over and over again and have repeated success, it will not work. And the other thing is what you mentioned: people who don't like stress and they love their comfort, they have a good environment. But this will again deteriorate at some point, because if you don't deliver results, people will get demotivated again. So it's not to have either or. Now, in terms of what you can do about boosting the development of the team, some things needs time, of course. So it's not you cannot form and in a week to become stronger, because you have to go through those difficult moments. You have to experience them together. And one thing is basically to set the expectations that you go through some bad moments, difficult moments, and you have to master how to get out of them quickly. And this is something actually we coach a lot of teams to embrace. To embrace those difficult moments, to embrace disagreements, because when you're in difficult moment, you have different opinions how to proceed, and you can think, well, let's go to the left. You can think, let's go to the right, and how you actually resolve those disagreements is what will make you stronger. So, two hints I will give regarding how to move forward faster is to make sure the communication within the team is such that you hear the opinion of everyone who wants to speak up. And the second is, once you have those disagreements, to have a method or mechanism to resolve those disagreements. So basically to have a decision-making approach regarding disagreements. And in terms of scanning, so we'll talk about at the end of the discussion today, but we developed at some point a tool for scanning the team dynamics. And one thing that a lot of managers tell us is that it's basically a survey that a lot of people answer related to the 3-team model, and then they have a report, and basically it's the feedback from the team, from the people to the team, and this tool opens up discussions. And once those discussions are open, basically people are vulnerable in front of each other. They discuss those tough topics at some point, and that's how you build a better foundation with this better team climate, because people are discussing the tough topics. That's a very important aspect as well.
It's on the way to the podcast, I was thinking about how managers manage. Let's say you're a manager, you start in a company, you are appointed to manage a team, and all of the people in the team are really nice people, don't deliver results. What's the process for when you scan the team dynamics? You understand that people are not prone to stress or challenging each other. What's the good practice to sort of assess whether that's healthy for the future results, or you need to do some changes to the
if people don't challenge each other?
If people don't challenge each other.
Well, it's natural for people to avoid challenging each other, because by default, people think there is a mental calculator that happens unconsciously, and it is whether speaking up is better or being silent. And being silent by default is safer, because it cannot make it worse, basically. So in order to challenge each other, first it's easier if people connect on a human level. So if we know each other, if we've gone through some moments together and understand that we're similar, that's one thing. But also it's important to have something to refer to, like a standard or a team contract or whatever. Because if we don't have something that aligns, then it's just my opinion. Why should I challenge you? I think you're slacking, but that's my opinion. But if we have something to refer to, and I can say, Albert, well, we agreed that something, and you're not doing it, that's totally different. And there was one interesting, I don't remember who said it. I recently read about Roy Keane, the football player, who said that in good teams, the manager hold people accountable. In great teams, players or people
Yeah.
hold each other accountable. So yeah, but the first thing is the manager should define the standard and should communicate over and over again this standard. And one approach for communication is actually to hold people accountable about those standards.
Yeah. And that leads me to my next question. I work with a lot of technical teams, although I'm not as technical as they are. What I've been noticing recently is that even senior people within those tech teams, I guess probably junior to mid level is more where I'm noticing that, but people tend to follow their personal agenda for what they want to deliver.
Okay.
And often, I'm noticing that within technical teams, not within more business-oriented teams. It's, I need to do that query, I need to build that code, and then what happens outside of it, if there's, for example, if there's data that's missing, that's not my problem. My
job is done.
My job is to build a query, whether I have the data to pull everything together, I don't care. And oftentimes I've seen more business people to drive that. What happens is that there's a lot of tension and conflict between those teams when the more business person is thinking about the full picture, and then the tech person is thinking more about what they need to deliver. My question is, why is that happening? Have you noticed that in different teams?
There's when speaking with some VPs and higher managers, there is always the conflict between engineering and product, those types of people. Well, on one hand, it's first let's go back a bit about conflict and tension. So it's important to understand that conflict is not bad. Conflict is actually good. Conflict, if we define it not as people arguing with each other in an unhealthy manner, but actually as two different points of view on the same matter. So is it my job or is it your job to think about the missing data? It could be two different points of view. So in great teams, conflict is used as a tool. So it's not bad that we disagree. That's not bad. Bad thing is if we cannot agree afterwards. So if we cannot get out of this situation. But by default, engineers' main focus is building the technical aspect of a product or a project. And the more business-oriented people. So when you mentioned the business analyst, so you're looking. Your perspective is more towards what the client wants and how to communicate this to the engineering people. So you have different focuses, different roles. That's why there's a natural friction there, because you're looking at different things. And in great things, for example, even in current situation, we are seeing like 360 degrees perspective, because I'm not able to look behind me. Yeah. You are able, and that's great thing. It's great that we have different perspectives. That's great. If we align each other to be the same, that's bad. So how to handle this is actually there are a lot of lack of clarity. A lot of teams have this issue, especially in the boundaries. Is it this my work? Is it your work? Is it our work? And when it's our work, then who's responsible? And team responsibilities what drags a lot of teams down, because they have not defined it.
Yeah.
So in your case, it's important to define what happens. What do we do as a team in those situations, in this context?
And Harry, you come from a position of being a coach, being in tech for multiple years.
Yeah.
What's the layer of, because you're talking about tech and soft skills, what's the layer of soft skills that I need to put on top of your, because obviously engineering teams are more focused on the product, and naturally the business, such as Phil mentioned about his role, the business people are coming with a bit more soft skills, or even call it an EQ. I'm open about it. How do you layer that, these soft skills on top of those?
How do you develop them? Or
how do you nurture them? How do you develop them? So, because you cannot have the productive conversation about clarity and about responsibilities between teams if the level of soft skills and EQ are not there. It can be I'm talking to you, you're not understanding me, or the other way around.
Well, so that's the question: who's responsible for tech people to develop their soft skills? If we're for me personally, that's the responsibility lies in every person, because you're the driver of your own career. If you want to be a regular software engineer and not develop further in your career, it's fine. Don't develop your soft skills. But if you want to progress, if you want to, regardless of your role, whether it's again technical or let's say management or something else, those soft skills are essential. So the first step is awareness, and some people are more aware than others. And if you're in the context of a manager, then if you want to speed up the process, it's your job to connect that awareness. So the question is, what's in it for me? So tech people would say, what's in it for me? Why do I need to develop those soft skills? And if you can connect the lack of soft skills around to a pain that people have, the technical people have. So in the context of what Svilen mentioned in the beginning, so this technical person, what happens if you're on vacation and you're not there to talk to him?
Everything is like stagnant, nothing's moving.
And maybe this tech person has some pain then. And if you can connect, okay, when Svilen's on vacation or sick or whatever, you have this pain, and if you can master that communication skill, you ease your own pain. That's something that a manager can do to connect the dots. That's a way.
And one other issue, before I pass on to Svilen, one of the other issues I've seen with tech managers, I think they're, well, not generalizing, of course.
You can generalize.
I'll generalize. All the tech managers, all the tech managers are awkward. There's always one, I call it a manager, whatever it is, can be a VP or a director, always a tech person that has really good soft skills. But having those soft skills, people go to him instead of his team or someone in his team. And there's always that one person that is the really the bridge between the technical teams and the business teams. And what happens is two things. One, that person gets overloaded because, of course, Harry, if Svilen's not hearing what I'm saying, I'll come to you and I'll be coming every other time. If there's no one in your team I can talk to, I'll be coming to you every other time. What happens is, one, you get overloaded. Two, your team doesn't get the opportunity to develop such skills because I just won't go to them to get my job done. Because I'll waste my time, one. And it's not in my job description to develop your team's soft skills, right? So I think, how can manager think about doing them a favor of not picking up their team's work? Because sometimes it's a conversation about favors, right? You do me a favor, and that's how things work in the whatever industry, in the IT niche, let's say. Sometimes you do favors, and sometimes these favors can speak getting things done, and it takes a soft skill to do that, right? Just one example.
What you mentioned, I remembered a personal story. So I was, I think, 2 years into my leadership role, and I had a regular meeting with my direct manager, my boss, and I on a daily basis, I went to his office and I shared the current issues that we have with the team and my thinking of what we should do next. And I remember vividly that at some point he interrupted me and said, "Stop coming to me, wanting for me to say yes, do that, do what you think." So basically, he started pushing me away and start taking more risks. And I think a lot of people who are overloaded, those who are doing favors to others and so on, at some point, if they have the issue, they have to just put some boundaries and say, okay, try to do it yourself. Or if Svilen is not here, if I'm not here, even if I'm here, I should say, no, I'm not ready at the moment. And I remember in my career as a manager, the typical day-to-day schedule is people coming to you and asking, do you have 5 minutes? and
That's my life.
I've actually experimented on a Monday, going into the office and measuring how many minutes basically it was until my full week schedule will be filled with meetings and so on and such questions. So, do you have 5 minutes? At some point, I said, I'll come back in 2 hours. I'm busy, although I was not busy. And 50% of the times, people were able to actually solve their problems, but it's important to actually discuss with those people how they solve the problems and say that was a good thing. So it's important for those developing others to just say, I'm not available at the moment, and let them struggle, because you cannot develop without some pain. And if you're always there to help people, they will not develop. I don't know if I answer, if I...
No, I think you did.
Yeah.
I think it was a pretty good answer. And about people developing others.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've been in a situation where your team or the teams that you've coached, trained, so on and so forth, there was some stagnation in the whole picture. People were just not delivering the thing that they needed to deliver. They were not as productive.
Yeah.
Like, is there a pill that can someone swallow?
Yeah,
like
there are pills. Yeah.
How can a manager kind of, in those situations, a manager push their team to better performance? Because you need to kind of light up that fire again. Maybe there was a fire within the people in the beginning when they joined, when the project was started, when the product was announced, when they knew that something new is going to be created. But then, like, year and a half after that, it's kind of stagnant. Everybody's doing their day-to-day. Nobody's exhilarated.
Yeah. Well, I remember recently we had a management training and we were discussing different issues. And there was one manager who said, how do I motivate my people when we know that we'll have, let's say, boring, repetitive work? That was the issue. So there are times where people will have boring, repetitive work, but you want their performance to be high. So in terms of motivation, it's important to understand that there are three, I assume you know this, but there are three intrinsic motivational factors. The work by Dan Pink, the book Drive, it says that we want to have autonomy, we want to have mastery, and we want to have purpose. So if you have boring, repetitive work, usually it feels like there is no purpose there, and that's why we're disengaged and so on. And what you can try to change is the autonomy aspect and the mastery aspect. So in terms of the let's say autonomy consists of how flexible you are in how you do your work. So time, technique, task, and team. So whether you have control of what you do, how you're going to do it, with whom you're going to do it, and when you're going to do it. And I remember, let me give an example of what managers can do, and hopefully they can map it to their context. I had my 9-year-old boy in the beginning of the school year, so in September, a few months ago. He was given a list of all the school rules that he has to sign, that he is going to obey them during the school year, and it was a very exhaustive list, like 20 rules, and he had to sign at the end, but he has to read them, and it was I don't want to do that. And what we did, it was I helped him. This is called job crafting. Job crafting is to change the job, the way you do the same job. So basically to do it in a different way. So we had this task. We didn't want to do this task. But I said, okay, let's play a game. It was something like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, let's say. But one reads a rule, explains it in a different way, and the other has to guess it. So it became a game. And he was engaged. So in terms of the work at work, if it is because people lack motivation, maybe you can help them change the way they do their work. If it is something else, it depends on the root cause. At some point, if it was what Albert mentioned, if you had a lot of pressure for a few months, people maybe just need a break, so you can go somewhere, have fun, ease off the expectations for a week and so on. So basically, one aspect is actually to discuss the topic. You can, as a manager, you can share, I'm noticing this, let's discuss it. And people to share their perspectives. And you have to, it's very powerful when people feel heard, seen, and acknowledged. So if they say I'm burnout, I don't want to do that. Even just being heard will trigger better engagement afterwards.
I completely agree with that, especially about the acknowledgement, like being seen.
Yeah.
That is something that has always helped me throughout my career. When I was the first given the opportunity to like manage people and like having direct reports, that was something that I was like kind of taught by my mentor back then, and it does wonders.
But it depends. I remember I had a senior engineer who was, I remember going into the office and saying hi as I do every day. And at some point he said, hi. And I noticed that it's something wrong. So I asked him what's going on. And we started having daily conversations, what's up with him. At some point I understood that he had some expectations about the salary, and that some promises were not followed through by the company and so on. And for the next 3 months, I had a lot of conversation, and so that I can change his motivation. But basically, it was just talking.
Okay.
What's the biggest gap that I've seen in your coaching career so far in terms of soft skills that tech teams need to take into consideration? If there's one single skill that you see missing, or at different levels in your career, the different skill that is missing.
The quickest answer will be listening, but this is something. I think
we all need to develop that.
Yeah, I do think that we have been trained even at school and to communicate actively, so to talk, to write, and so on, but not to listen, really, to understand that, to actively listen. This is something a lot of people are lacking. They prefer a lot of teams. When you observe their conversations, there is a natural division between vocal people and silent people, and vocal people tend not to listen. They want to speak. More introverted and silent people, they wait for their turn, so they never have their turn to speak. But a lot of these, regardless of whether they're vocal by default, by nature or not, they don't actively listen to what others are saying. And I think once people learn and master this, the teams become better.
And I was actually thinking with regards to the active listening, there are really vocal people that also listen, and I think these are the great people in a company, because they can be vocal when they have to, but they can listen when they need to. Is there impact on promotion if you're not vocal, if you're only listening? Because I've seen really
there is an impact,
really valuable, really good professionals, really good tech people, really good developers, that because they're not vocal and they cannot speak up their ideas or be present in a meeting or in a room, their contribution gets neglected and they don't get promoted. That impacts promotion.
It impacts. There is some research, a lot of research that suggests that people who talk more and more vocal, regardless of whether they're delivering valuable message or not, just because they're vocal, they progress their career more. So I would not suggest people to become more vocal, but there is at Soft Skills Pills we shared a few in the newsletters that we develop, and there are some, we call them vitamins, so they're not pills, they're vitamins. Some articles that are related to making your work visible. So being able to make your work visible and not only do the work, it will change your career. I've seen it over and over again. People who are doing great work and are not great communicators, they, as you mentioned, they will progress slower because they expect to be noticed. And they don't want to be talking about their work, and they don't want to show off. But making your work visible is not being a show off. It's being able to communicate your value. And yes, this is critical if you want to progress your career.
Okay, we know the shortcut to promotions.
You need to be self-promoting.
Yes, but again, there is different ways to do that. And there are a lot of people who are not doing a great work, but are great at showing and self-promoting. And they do progress, but at some point they fail because they are not that great.
Yeah, I agree with that. Usually I'll ask my favorite question, but this time because we have a gift for our viewers, let's discuss that instead of the question. So can you give us a bit more details about what we can, like, what the giveaway will be about? Because that's important.
The giveaway is a team scan using our tool, which is called 3 Team Scan. So it is a tool that allows you to analyze the team dynamics of a team. So everyone who is part of a team, whether it's a manager or part of the team, can participate in this giveaway or can use this tool. More details can be seen at softskillspills.com/scan. But roughly, it is a tool that it's a survey, specifically designed survey, which allows you to get quick and in-depth analysis. So everyone in the team answered this survey, and then you get a report that gives you the insights that we discuss of the 3 elements, of the 9 elements, and so on, different aspects of what's under the hood, what's happening with the team. And basically these reports, once discussed within the team, allows you to, some of the things are tough topics to talk about, but because you're using the tool, it allows you to have a nice conversation about this.
Understood. So you'll be able to find everything in the description below the video once you watch the whole video. Thank you very much for your time today. Thank you very much for the viewers who stay until the end. I hope that you like the episode. If you want us to continue doing those great episodes, inviting great guests like Harry, just comment, subscribe, and see you soon.